Hey guys, it's Jenna. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm filming my September wrap-up. So as of today, today's the last day of September as I'm currently filming this. And I do apologize about the poor lighting and the glare on my glasses. It just is a weird time of day that I'm filming. I'm filming in the evening as that is the time that I had to film today. So anyway, let's just get into this. So I read 6 books in the month of September. September absolutely flew by and it was an insane month. One of the craziest months that I've had in a while. One, because school is starting to, I'm starting to get into the swing of things as far as grad school goes, like the semester. I had the summer off, so I'm trying to get back into the groove of doing schoolwork on a regular basis. And then Hurricane Irma happened. So a couple of you reached out to me and asked, how I was doing and how my family did during the hurricane. I am happy and blessed to say that everyone in my family, and as far as I know, all of my friends did relatively okay during the storm. Our house did not suffer any damage other than a few shingles being lost on the roof, so that's pretty good, I would say. There was a ton of just messy debris in the yard, and I had a sunburn for a while from just raking out in the yard. Raking is not something that Floridians really have to do, so I was surprised at how much work it was to just rake leaves out of my yard. So yeah, I felt pretty strong the next day and sore. But anyway, long story short, September was crazy because of school and hurricanes, and I had to work in a hurricane shelter for almost a week, and it was insane. But I'm happy to say that our routine is back to normal, and I feel really good about October when it comes to reading. So let's just get into the thoughts that I have about the books that I read in September. So the first book that I read in September was You by Caroline Kepnes. I read this with Catherine from Cover to Cover and Robin from Driftless Reader. So I gave this book, originally I gave it 3.5 stars. However, as I've kind of distanced myself from it as time has gone by a little bit, I think I'm gonna take it down to 3 stars. So Buddy read this with Catherine and Robin, and we all felt very similarly about it. I think I may have liked it just a tad more than they did, but overall we had the same basic opinion that we appreciated what this book was trying to do. We appreciated the perspective, but there were a lot of things that were left open that we wanted more answers on. Me in particular, I wanted to know more about Joe, the narrator slash protagonist. If you're unfamiliar with this book, this is a thriller, I would say, told from the perspective of a stalker, and the author uses second-person narrative, so the whole time you feel like Joe, the narrator, is talking to you, hence the title. So it's all about a stalker's perspective, and we as a reading group really liked that. We liked getting inside his head, and it was creepy, and he was definitely funny, and we could see how some people would find him likable, because a lot of people say that Joe, the narrator, they just find him really likable. And I found that hard to believe before I started reading the book, but afterwards I could kind of understand why people would say that, because he was pretty funny at times. Other times I found him to be extremely pretentious, and I didn't get it. But overall, it was all right. I would recommend this book if you're looking for something a little bit different, a little bit unique as far as perspective goes, or if you're looking for a good thriller. So we all found it to be a little bit predictable, and I just wanted more information on how Joe came to be what he was, or how he why he was the way that he was. We got hardly any background information on him at all, and I always like trying to empathize with someone no matter what they're doing. At least I can kind of see how they came to be that way, and we didn't get that with Joe. But I did like the writing. It wasn't amazing, but it was just an alright thriller. So if you're looking for an alright thriller, or it's just something quick and fun and kind of spooky to get through for the fall or winter, I would probably recommend you. The next book that I read was One Crazy Summer by Rita Williams Garcia, and I read this for school. This is a middle grade novel told from the perspective of she's 11, an 11-year-old girl named Delphine, and it tells the story of how she takes care of her sisters during the summer where they go to visit their mother who abandoned them when they were really young. So it basically follows these three sisters over the summer. It takes place in the 1960s, and their mother, they've come to find out that she's actually part of the Black Panthers Party. She works with them, so you kind of get to see this behind the scenes perspective, a perspective outside of the media and how they portrayed the Black Panthers. So I thought it was very, very good. I almost say good for a middle grade novel. That's terrible. But it surprised me how good it was. I just didn't have hardly any expectations going into it, but I was pleasantly surprised. I thought the writing was incredible. From just the very first page, I was just blown away. And it dealt with a lot of heavy topics that I feel like middle grade novels usually don't get into very often. I do think, though, that the main character, Delphine, she was 11 years old, and I think she was a little bit too mature to be realistic. But then again, she had to go through a lot of things that I didn't have to go through as an 11-year-old, so maybe she kind of had to grow up in that way, more so than you would think a normal 11-year-old would. So anyway, I feel like I'm rambling about it, but it wowed me as far as writing goes. So I would definitely recommend this if you were looking for a good middle grade novel that it's kind of got some historical fiction, and it's powerful sister relationships. I would definitely recommend it. I ended up giving it 4 stars. The next book that I read, I actually have a copy of it here, is The Storied Life of AJ Fikriye by Gabrielle Zevin. I read this for the Books and Jams read-along for September, and I ended up giving this 4 stars. I definitely liked it. I thought that it was very cute, heartwarming, definitely funny at times. I loved AJ's sense of humor. I found him to be extremely dry, and I just enjoyed reading his dialogue in particular. It made me laugh out loud several times. However, that being said, I do feel like the overall story was a little bit rushed, and a lot of the dialogue was very unrealistic. I don't think anybody would talk like that in real life unless they were writing a script for a TV show. Like, it just, I don't know. It just, normal people would not talk like this, I don't feel like. But it was still enjoyable to read. And like I said, I did feel like some things were a little bit rushed, some things tied up a little bit too neatly, in my opinion. But overall, I really enjoyed it. So let me get back to the plot. Obviously, this follows AJ Fikriye, who is a bookstore owner. The store is not doing very well ever since his wife passed away a year prior to the beginning of the book. So we just follow his life as he kind of explores the world outside of his own little bubble, and he meets new people. Some new people come into his life that completely change his world, and it kind of gave me A Man Called Uva vibes, but I thought, I mean, it's different from Uva, but it still has that trope of this crotchety, he's not old, but crotchety man whose perspective is forcibly renewed. Does that make sense? So basically, his worldview changes based on the people that come into his life, and he becomes kinder and warmer because of it. So, and since it takes place in a bookstore for most of the book, it's definitely one of those books for book lovers. So if you like books about books, I would definitely recommend this. I thought it was very, very sweet, and I would absolutely love to see this become a movie one day. So the next book that I read was Holes by Louis Sachar, I don't know how you pronounce that. But I read this for a book club that I host every month at work. It's called Tween Chapters, and I have to admit, I kind of tweaked Trina from Between Chapters. I kind of tweaked her channel name and made it into a name for my book club at work. So credit to Trina because she came up with the idea. But the group is for tweens, hence the name. So it's like 9 to 12-year-olds. I just have a monthly book club for them. So I chose Holes, 1, because it won the Newbery Award in 1999, 2, because I had never read it before and I had always wanted to, and I love the movie. So we read it. Incredible. I would give it 4 stars. However, I do wish that I would have read this as a kid and then saw the movie when it came out later. I think I was a teenager, I think, when it came out, or early teenager. So I do wish that I would have read this as a kid and then saw the movie, but I saw the movie several times before I actually read the book. So I think that kind of affected my perspective on it a little bit, because it was basically word for word. The movie was word for word, like from the book. So if you like the movie, you'll like the book. Definitely super cute, super fun, and very creative as far as plot structure goes and how multiple plots tie in together, and highly recommend it. 4 stars. The next book that I read was And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. I ended up giving this 3.5? 3.5? Didn't write it down. I'm pretty sure I gave it 3.5 stars on Goodreads. So I buddy read this with April from Getting Hooga With It and Kristen from Kristen's Library. We're still kind of chatting about it at this current moment. But I flew through this, guys. I thought it was great. I've only read one other Agatha Christie novel before, though. That was Murder on the Orient Express. And I have to say that I couldn't help but compare the two, just because the Orient Express was the only other one that I've read, and I don't know, I just felt like I couldn't help but compare them. I will say that I liked the Murder on the Orient Express a little bit more than And Then There Were None. I'm getting all tongue-tied, I need to slow down. I felt more invested in Murder on the Orient Express than this one, because I felt like the characters were a little bit more dynamic. If you're unfamiliar with this, basically 10 strangers are invited to this island mysteriously, and slowly they begin to be picked off one by one, going from 10 until none. And you kind of are the detective in the story, so you have to kind of like figure out who did it, type of thing. I thought it was very clever. I really liked the concept about it all, but overall it wasn't something that I was completely connected to. It was just kind of a fun mystery. April from Getting Hooga With It, I think, well, I know she definitely liked it more than I did, but for different reasons. And we kind of felt the opposite. So she's read Murder on the Orient Express too, and she actually likes this one more than that one, and I kind of felt the opposite. But overall, it was definitely a fun read and super, super quick to get through. If you're looking for, like, I wouldn't really call this a cozy mystery, but if you're looking for just a quick, fun mystery that would be considered a classic, I would say, I would recommend that one. And then the last book is actually currently reading for me. I'm reading Esperanza Rising by Pam Munoz. Yes, Munoz Ryan. This is another middle grade book that I have to read for a class that I'm taking. The class is called Multicultural Literature for Children. So I'm excited to kind of get out of my comfort zone and just kind of read things that I wouldn't normally grab for, or wouldn't normally like reach for. And this is one of the ones that I've actually already read. I read this when I was younger and I really loved it. Haven't read it since. So far I'm really enjoying it. I'm only a few chapters in, but this is what I'm currently reading, so you'll see this in my October wrap up. But this is about a girl who lives in Mexico. Her father is a wealthy ranch owner. One day some stuff goes down and they basically lose everything. So she has to adjust from a life of being really, really rich in Mexico to being really, really poor, and how that affects her and her world. I don't remember much else about it because it's been so long since I've read it, but I'm excited to get back into it because it was just one of my favorites as a kid. But that was it for my September wrap up. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's a little bit dark in here, but I could only film during the evening today, so sorry if I'm a little bit dark. But yeah, let me know what your favorite book that you read in September was. And then if you read any of these other books, I would love to know your thoughts on them as well. I also have a giveaway that is open right now, so if you missed my last video, I will link it down below. I recently reached 1,000 subscribers, and so I'm doing a Q&A and a giveaway. So if you would like to learn more about that, check that video out down below. And before I go, I have to show you my shirt. I'm obsessed with it. So it turned out to be a little bit bigger than I thought it was going to be, but it's so comfortable that I just don't really care. So, so if you follow me on Twitter, I recently posted that I'm obsessed with the new It movie, and I am. So I went out and I bought this shirt from Amazon, and it says Losers Club, if you can see that, and it has all of their names on it. Going around it. It kind of looks like the Converse logo, and I just love it. So let me know if you have seen the new It movie and what you think of it down below, because it was so good. It was so good, guys. You have to go see it. So I'm gonna stop rambling, end it there, and I will see you guys very soon with a new video. Bye.